to Stepney All Saints and Samosa Media's Question Time. My name is Fowzia and I'm going to be chairing this debate. Today we are joined with our panellists, Rayan, who's a Conservative teacher, Hudhayfah, who's a Conservative MP, Maryam, who's an independent journalist, Zubaydah, who's a Labour MP, and Myra, who's a NHS worker. Today we're going to be discussing 4 topics. These topics are junk food, knife crime, social media ban, and religious attire. These topics are what the great British public are concerned about. Starting off with the first topic, which is junk food. Does anyone have any questions from the audience? Yeah.
Should junk food be banned?
Okay, starting off, we're going to go to Zubaydah, who's a Labour MP.
We believe that junk food should be banned. Obesity is a national crisis. It costs the NHS over £11 billion a year. 1 in 10 receptionist children are obese. 1 in 5 children by the age of 5 have tooth decay. A ban isn't an option anymore, it's a necessity. Also, as a country, we're lucky enough to have a free healthcare system which is funded via taxes. Now, if the strain of obesity increases, then we're going to have to raise our taxes, which means unhappy people. And so I think if we tackle the issue now, then the consequences later on are way worse, so we might as well tackle it now.
Okay. Zubaydah's just said that junk food relates to obesity. What do you think about that, Rayan, from a Conservative point of view?
Teachers are not diet police. They're there to educate. Parents should teach their children nutritious habits at home rather than us as teachers force it upon them in schools.
Okay, Hudhayfah, what do you think about this?
The government is not a parent to children and kids and shouldn't have to look after their healthy diets, and they can choose what to eat, and the responsibility lies with them. They should decide to not eat junk food and have healthier meals.
From an independent journalist point of view, Maryam, what do you think about this topic?
I disagree with Zubaydah's point because I don't think that the government should ban junk food. Number one, people are able to find loopholes, and number two, the real issue is actually inequality. Many people who are on low incomes, they choose junk food because it's cheaper and it's a better alternative.
Zubaydah, Maryam's just counter-argued your point. What's your view on this?
Linking back to Hudhayfah's point, you're saying that it's a parent's responsibility and not ours, but that's completely ignoring how the reality of the food industry works. These junk food companies, they specifically target poorer communities. They deliberately make junk food cheaper, easily accessible, and aggressively advertised, especially in lower income communities. These corporations can afford sugar taxes, they can afford to reformulate their products, but they don't want to because unhealthy food is profitable. This is literally corporate exploitation.
Myra, you're an NHS worker. What do you think about this?
As an NHS worker, I've witnessed firsthand the effects of junk food, and I do believe that there should be a ban. Amongst the youth, there's been a significant increase due to fast food in obesity rates, cardiovascular disease, etc., and I believe there should be a ban.
That's a valid point. Rayan, would you like to counter-argue?
1 of 5 children leaving primary schools are obese or overweight. This proves that diet control in schools is not helpful, as the real problem stems from home.
Maryam, what do you think?
Going back to Zubaydah's point, I actually think that we should, tax the big corporations instead of actually, banning junk food. Junk food is a choice. If you want to eat junk food, then that's your own choice. You can't ban what something's bad for you. Just because it's bad for you doesn't mean you ban it.
Zubaydah, what would you do?
So that's why the Labour government want to enforce the ban and taxation hand in hand, because just enforcing taxation would only mean that these junk food companies, they specifically target children and children in lower income areas. You can't complain about freedom when there's children being at risk here. If, for example, we have 1 in 5 children obese by the age of 11, that's a pressing issue right now. These children are being targeted by these brands on purpose. For example, if you enforce a ban as well as that taxation, you're protecting the children as well as taxing the rich. Yeah.
Hudhayfah, what do you think?
I think rather than there being a ban, there should be a restriction process because, as it's been seen from previous statistics, the restriction process has stopped 95,000 cases of obesity and also save the NHS 200 million. Furthermore, the food industry provides 500,000 jobs, and the food manufacturing industry generates 37 billion to the economy.
Ryan, would you like to add on?
I'd like to counter Zubaydah's point. He said a tax could be helpful, but I view it as regressive. A tax on the whole population would mean it will be inequality. There'll be inequality within the poorer groups. For example, the rich people, they'd be able to pay the additional money, whereas the poorer students, they wouldn't be able to pay it, which creates inequality.
Hudhayfah, it's a bit. What do you think?
You just enforced my point. This is why a ban is necessary, because the ban actually protects children and protects and actually supports families on lower incomes, because they're protecting their children from becoming obese, from having cavities by the age of 5.
Maryam, what do you think?
I disagree with Zubaydah's point. Instead of going after junk food and the ban, I think that we should go for corporations. You know, in 2024, Coca-Cola spent $5 billion on global advertising. And this enforces corporate behavior, not consumer behavior, which means instead of banning junk food, we need to go after those corporations.
But that's what I said. I said we should enforce the ban and enforce taxation, because they both go hand in hand.
But I'm saying no ban.
I'm saying ban because it protects our children.
Ryan, would you like to add on?
Hudhayfah had mentioned regulation. Regulation can start in school, such as mandatory PSHE lessons about nutrition and health, whereas and also PSH biology lessons, which must be taught to students.
Zubaydah, what would you like to know?
We've been educated talking about junk food for 40 years now, and that hasn't changed anything. Children are imposed. They want to buy sweets. They want to buy junk food after school because it's available to them, because these companies exploit children. And, for example, take a look at Stepney Green Road. Tower Hamlets is the poorest borough in one of the poorest boroughs in the UK, and look how many junk food and fast food places there are concentrated in one area, especially around schools. They know that these children go to these places because it's cheap and affordable, which is why they place them there.
That's a valid point. Hudhayfah, would you like to counter argue?
They place these places there because they know young children are mainly in this area and will buy that food because it's cheap, and a lot of them come from working backgrounds, so their parents are constantly working and there's no meals at home, so they go to junk food for cheap alternatives that they can afford on their money.
Would anyone like to add on? Okay. Maryam?
Going back to Ryan's point, education is way more effective than banning junk food, because food culture can't be changed by force. It's embedded everywhere in social life. Birthday parties, events, it's everywhere. Banning it will just create resentment, not healthy habits.
Okay. We're gonna go move on to our next topic, which is knife crime. Does the audience have any questions? Yes.
Why is knife crime a problem for people in London?
Okay. We're gonna start off with Ryan, who's a Conservative MP.
The problem stems from a collapse of discipline and family values. Students and the youth have had a lack of family values and also been misguided by people they shouldn't be looking up to, such as rappers.
Okay. Zubaydah, would you like to counter argue?
We believe that crime is directly linked to poverty and youth centres collapsing. The Youth Violence Commission found that areas losing youth services saw a 40% rise in knife crime. A single stabbing cost the NHS £30,000. These youth centres don't have enough funding, and over 40% of youth centres have shut down across the UK, and experts directly link this to the rise in knife crime. Also, NHS hospital data shows the highest rates of ignitions for knife injuries is among 15 to 19-year-olds. That is literally children. Home Office data shows a number of under 18s carrying knives has risen significantly over the last decades. We're not asking the real questions. Why are teenagers feeling unsafe to the point where they have to carry weapons around with them in order to feel safe?
Myra, would you like to add on?
Going off of what Zubaydah said, I agree. Knife crime causes devastating harm, and as an NHS worker, I see the physical and psychological trauma it leaves behind. The Office for National Statistics data shows that thousands of knife-related offences each year, and while targeted policing has reduced some knife crime, the problem still remains serious. Enforcement alone doesn't work. Over 80% of young people say harsher laws won't stop knife crime because they don't address why young people carry knives in the first place.
Hudhayfah, would you like to counter?
I'd like to point out that the increase in knife crime was due to parents and their upbringing of children, because individuals learn the most from their parents and their upbringing and their surroundings. And if you're surrounded by negative things, it leads you on a downward spiral in which you turn to negative things such as crime. And that's why there's been a 20% increase in crime in the last decade, mainly from poorer boroughs.
Maryam, would you like to add on?
I disagree with Hudhayfah because it's not just about what he said. It's the real problem is the severe wealth inequality across London. The top 10% of London own 44% of total wealth, whereas the bottom 10% own absolutely nothing. This shows that the most income-deprived neighbourhoods face 3 times as many weapon offences than the least deprived. The real problem is income. It's not what he said. I'm sorry.
Zubaydah, would you like to counter?
Yeah, adding on to what Maryam said, youth centres provide safe spaces. Hudhayfah said that it's the parents' responsibility to look after their children. But there's some parents, especially in lower income families, where they don't have time to look after their children. They don't have time to put their children in sports clubs or take them horse riding, etc. Because they're struggling to provide for their kids. They've got 2 to 3 jobs to, 2 to 3 jobs to work, and you can't expect positive role models if there's families are unable to give that to them. We know that early intervention works because in 1999, Sure Start was created by Tony Blair to support families in deprived areas, and according to the Institute for Fiscal Studies, Sure Start reduced later crime, youth misbehaviour, and lowered social care involvement. We need to tackle the root cause, not the symptoms.
Rayan, what do you think about this?
Statistics show that there is a youth centre a maximum of 0.5 miles away from a secondary school in London. The problem is blaming facilities or society is an excuse. It should be up to the parents or the school to crack down on like she said, the problems, not the symptoms.
Myra, would you like to add on?
NHF and youth justice data shows strong links between knife crime, poverty, poor mental health, school exclusion, and most significantly, a lack of youth services. A public health approach, such as investing in mental health care, youth clubs, education, and tackling deprivation, prevents violence more effectively than punishment alone.
Maryam, what do you think about this?
What we actually need to do is follow in Glasgow's footsteps. Glasgow was dubbed the murder capital of Europe, and now it's significantly reduced homicide rates. So instead, what we should actually do is treat it as a public health issue. Prevention, not punishment. Identify at-risk youth early. Trauma support youth workers. That's what we need to do.
Rayan, what do you think?
I'd like to agree with Maryam. I believe police should crack down hard on knife possession through effective methods like stop and search, and also schools should be allowed to stop search students without a proper cause.
Ryan's just said that students should be allowed to students should be stopped and searched. Zubaydah, what do you think about this?
I think that would create greater resentment towards the police. We already have resentment towards the police from our youth, and stopping and searching would just create a tense relationship between them. We're already short on police, and we already have we're already short-staffed on police, and so I think we should tackle it from an early age. For example, like I mentioned before, Sure Start. We know that early intervention works because Labour proved it. Conservatives shut down more than 1/3 of youth centres, stripping away the very services that kept the young people off the streets and safe. And the Office for National Statistics data shows that knife crime increased sharply 21% in 1 year. Experts directly link this to the collapse of youth services caused by Conservative austerity.
Hudhayfah, what do you think about this?
I think the fault lies in that there shouldn't be a focus on youth centres. There should be a focus more on that the government shouldn't have to provide youth centres with their funding. It's an opportunity cost, and that people can go to their schools, their teachers, and get guidance from them. And also schools provide free facilities they can use instead of youth centres.
Zubaydah, would you like to counter all?
But David mentioned it's an opportunity cost. It's not an opportunity cost because it's costing the NHS £30,000 per stab. Also, it's among children. Children are a priority. You can't say it's an opportunity cost but not tackle the actual issue, which is the youth don't feel safe enough. The youth don't have support. And it's been proven that when the youth do have support, crime significantly decreases.
Ryan, what do you think?
Someone had said that the main cause was closure of youth centres. However, 20% of youth centres were unused, and the main ones that Conservatives had shut down were unused, and also the popular ones had remained. The ones in high income, high crime areas had also stayed the same.
We're going to move on to our third topic now, which is the social media ban. Does the audience have any questions? Yes.
Should social media be banned for under 16s?
Starting off, we're going to go to Zubaydah, who's a Labour MP.
We believe that social media should be banned for under 16s because social media is directly linked to mental health decline. NHS data shows 1 in 5 children aged 8 to 16 now have prompted mental disorders. Girls aged 11 to 16 who use social media are twice as likely to report depressive symptoms. Social media causes so many problems within the youth. Sleep deprivation, anxiety, depression, body image issues, self-harm behaviors. Children's behavior is still developing. They don't need to be exposed to social media. They don't have the same media literacy that adults have. They can't make informed decisions the way that adults can. So safeguarding them from explicit content on social media is extremely important.
Zubaydah's just said that social media for children can link to mental health issues. Maryam, what do you think about this?
I disagree with Zubaydah. I think instead of targeting children, we need to target the tech companies. Platforms are designed with addictive algorithms. Safety regulations are inconsistent and ineffective. Enforcement would be incredibly unrealistic and very easy to bypass. And policing millions would be intrusive surveillance and could lead to potential lawsuits.
Ryan, what do you think about this?
I'd like to agree with Maryam. Social media is addictive. Do you know what else is addictive? Alcohol, cigarettes, and gambling. These are all age restricted because of their addictiveness.
Zubaydah, would you like to counter argue?
Ryan, you just agreed with me. We already accept that children need protection from harmful industries, for example, alcohol, gambling, explicit content, dangerous products. Social media is no different. In fact, it's more powerful, it's more intrusive, and it's more addictive. A ban for 16 doesn't take away adults' rights. It simply says children should not be a testing ground for algorithms designed to exploit their psychology.
Maryam, would you like to...
Earlier, Zubaydah said that it affects children's mental health, but I'm sorry, but banning social media would risk isolation and incredible inequality. Social media is a major communication tool amongst hundreds of children, millions of children, and banning social media would just worsen loneliness.
Zubaydah, would you like to add, ma'am?
You mentioned loneliness. Now, children have existed before social media existed. Children were allowed to play outside. Children socialized outside. Real socialization is outside. It's not stuck to a screen. Children should be playing outside, going to youth centers, making friends. They shouldn't be stuck to a, screen and, creating parasocial relationships online. That's not what children should be doing.
Hudhayfah, what's your point of view on this?
Zubaydah mentioned before that using social media can lead to things such as social anxiety and depression. However, those things existed long before social media, so there's no point in banning them because they still exist. And social media is a tool that people can utilize to communicate with others around the world, and it will decrease loneliness for them. So it's not really a problem and shouldn't be banned. Instead, they can use restrictions on platforms that shouldn't be checked out by curious young children.
Ryan, would you like to add on?
Polls often show that under 16 oppose the restrictions, but they aren't the right demographic to ask. The right demographic to ask is the people who have just come out of the ban age. For example, 16-year-olds and 24-year-olds, up to there. They often, 67% show that they agree with the restriction as it has a lot of harmful content.
Myra, as an NHS worker, what's your point of view?
I believe that there should be an outright social media ban. Time and time again, I've seen multiple cases of low self-esteem. Teenagers have body esteem issues, and all of this is fueled by social media.
Maryam, what's your view on this?
Over 70% of teens say social media is the main way of staying in touch with their friends over the years. And banning social media would risk increasing isolation and harming mental health. And is that not a real problem?
Zubaydah, what's your view in this?
First of all, going back to the point where you said that the ban could easily be bypassed, that's why the ban must include government improved verification, age verification, platform liability, and fines for non-compliance. Australia and France have already begun implementing this, and it works when enforced. 4.7 million accounts underage were deleted, and regulators pulled the results significant. If it works there, then it can work here.
Ryan, would you like to add on?
Jonathan Haidt, a leading figure in Australia's ban, had said that social media should be banned explicitly. It should be banned through the content and how they interact with each other.
What's Maryam's point on this?
Zubaydah said that you would police millions, yeah? You're gonna surveil every single one of those under 16s. Number one is easy to bypass. People make fake accounts, VPNs. Everybody uses these type of things.
No one said surveillance.
You said you're gonna surveil under 16s. You're gonna. What
I
did
think
you
we
say?
should let Maryam continue, and then we'll get to you after.
If you're gonna police millions on under 16, that would be intrusive surveillance. That would give you potential lawsuits. And you said that you're gonna restrict safety standards, yeah? That's easy to bypass. Hundreds of kids have alternate accounts with fake birthdays, VPNs. It's so much easier to gain access from social media.
Okay, Zubaydah, now what's your view on this?
I think the bigger issue is the effects of social media. It doesn't matter whether they're happy with it or not. Children can say they're not happy with being able to vape, to smoke, but yet we still enforce these bans on them. I think radicalization is especially more important. Extremist groups, predators, and criminal networks use social media to target young people. The UK Home Office reports a sharp rise in online grooming offences, with thousands of cases linked to Instagram, Snapchat, and TikTok.
That's a good point. Maryam, would you like to add on?
This is why we should regulate platforms, not the users. We need to implement mandatory safety standards, stronger privacy protections, faster removal of harmful content.
Hudhayfah, what's your point of view on this?
I agree with Maryam's point that there should be more regulations and restrictions for the people that are underage so that they're not accessing content that they shouldn't be and not interacting with individuals that plan to abuse them or exploit them.
Zubaydah, would you like to add on?
First of all, you're saying that parents, and because you're saying the parents, it's with the parents' responsibility, right? So you're expecting parents to compete with multi-million-pound companies which are made to push out addictive content, which have algorithms which are made to glue people onto the screen. Now, if we enforce a ban, that's making sure that children aren't seeing any content that they're not supposed to see. They're being protected from pop-ups. We can get pop-ups anytime, but parents can't control what comes up at 2 a.m. or the content that comes up through advertising, marketing. Businesses use these platforms to market their products that couldn't even be, safe for children. So banning it ensures that our children are safeguarded from seeing things that they shouldn't be seeing.
Ryan, would you like to counter argue this point?
A pop-up can come up anywhere. A YouTube video, an ad, games, books, anything online can have a pop-up. So should we ban everything or should we just ban social media?
Zubaydah, would you like to counter argue?
But we're talking about children here, so under 16s. They don't need to be seeing that. They don't even need to be having access to social media. Scientific studies have shown that children's attention spans have significantly decreased. Their literacy rates have significantly decreased. You're a teacher, Rayan. Teachers have complained that children aren't focusing and paying attention in class.
What do you have to say about this?
That doesn't directly come from social media. There's been an increase in ADHD and also other mental disorders in schools that prevent students from learning, such as ADHD. There's been an increase in autism and other mental health problems, etc., that stop students from properly being educated.
Zubaydah, would you like to argue against this point?
Yes, but it's been proven that social media reduces attention spans. It reduces literacy rates. Social media has, not ADHD. That's a separate issue. We're talking about the effect of social media for under 16 children as young as the age of 5 and 6 and 7 years old.
Maryam, would you like to add on to this point?
Earlier on, Zubaydah said that children don't have digital literacy. Well, I think that in schools, we need to put education on for digital literacy as it's more effective than prohibition. We need to do education, platform regulation, and safer digital design.
Zubaydah, put your hands up. What's your...
You're speaking about education. You can't expect children primary school children mostly to be able to pick up and to be able to decipher what's right and what's wrong on social media. They're children, their brains are still developing. So education won't work in that way.
Maryam, would you like to argue this? Or Hudhayfah?
The real question is, why are parents giving under 16s access to social media? Rather than blaming it on the teachers and the education system, you should be blaming the parents because they're not taking care of their children and looking after them. Instead, they're giving them devices that can access social media and access unsafe content.
That's a great point. Myra, what's your view?
That's why there should be an outright ban, because without the ban, these parents, as you're saying, are able to give their children access to social media. So don't you agree that there should be a ban so these parents aren't able to give their children access to social media?
Maryam, what's your view?
A ban would be very inconsistent and ineffective. It's unrealistic. As I said before, it's easy to bypass. There's regulation costs when it comes to policing those under 16s. That money could go elsewhere. Also, surveillance, as I said before, could lead to potential lawsuits.
Zubaydah, would you like to add
You
on?
said that money could go to elsewhere. I think there's a pattern where you guys keep making issues about the youth seems very insignificant when it is. The youth are our future. For example, if our attention spans are being ruined by social media, then that's going to cause a long-term effect later on down the line, where they get jobs and they're not able to focus, or they're not able to complete it to the best of their ability because of the damage social media has done.
That's a great point. Ryan, what's your view?
I don't have much else to say. Matter. Sorry.
Okay, does anyone else have anything they want to add on? No? Okay, we're going to move on to the last topic, which is religious attire. Does anyone have any questions? Yes,
Should religious attire be banned in primary schools?
that's a great question. We're going to start off with Ryan. What's your point of view?
In the UK, reports show a significant rise in Islamophobia over the last decade, about a 165% increase in the past 2 years. Children of primary school age tend to repeat what they hear at home. They are still learning and they don't understand what is right and wrong, and they may repeat things that aren't right. Wearing the hijab can make little girls targets for bullying or discrimination, whilst also being a minority in schools.
Zubaydah, would you like to add on?
You said targets for discrimination. Now, if we enforce a ban, that's going to send a message out to younger children, to people in primary schools, that the hijab is not correct. The hijab is unacceptable in the UK. A ban creates a stigma around Muslim identity. It sends a message that your identity is a problem. The hijab is a religious expression for girls. It's a connection to family and communities, and stripping that away from someone is unethical. The UK protects freedom of religion, freedom of expression, and freedom of identity. A ban directly contradicts these rights.
Maryam, what's your view?
I agree with Zubaydah. A ban would just undermine children's rights. Religious clothing for young children reflects family identity, not political expression. Young children should, in this day and age, should not be worried about discrimination and Islamophobia. And if you are worried about Islamophobia, what you should be talking about is educating those children on why Islamophobia is not the right way.
Hudhayfah, what's your view on this?
The education system is a place of neutrality, and so there shouldn't be young children wearing the hijab because it will increase the likelihood of them being bullied and victims of bullying. And it's a place for people to be educated about the wider world so that they can have careers. When they grow up, they can wear the hijab because that's when you're expected to wear it, not at such a young age.
Zubaydah. Oh, Myra, what's your view on this?
As the left-wing NHS worker, I do not support the hijab ban because it restricts personal and religious freedom and mainly targets Muslim women. The UK Home Office data shows that Islamophobic hate crime has risen by over 40% since 2021, and women who wear hijab are most at risk. The Women and Equalities Committee found that banning religious dress increases discrimination and harms mental health rather than improving integration. Some argue bans promote integration or women's liberation, but there is no evidence that hijab ban improves safety or equality. Instead, they deepen division and stigma.
I just want to emphasize that the religious attire ban is on primary schools, not adults. Ryan, would you like to add on?
A ban on hijab isn't about restricting belief. It's about protecting little girls whilst they're still developing and ensuring they can learn safely with their peers.
Zubaydah, do you want to speak?
Enforcing a ban is in fact making them a target for discrimination. Because first of all, you're going to be pushing them out of education because they feel like they're not welcome there, because they feel like the statement that they wear on their head is something that's a problem. Also, you're forgetting that there's children around them. If we can't, allow the hijab to exist and integration to exist, integration isn't banning a religious identity. Integration is respect, inclusion.
Maryam, what do you have to say for this?
I agree with Zubaydah. A ban punishes kids for parents' beliefs. It enforces. A ban does not enforce identity and belonging. That's what we need in this day and age, especially for young kids in primary schools. It supports healthy development. It boosts confidence, self-esteem, academic success. Diversity is what builds communities.
Ryan, what do you have to say about this?
Muslims are a minority in the UK. If you go to areas such as Glasgow or Ireland, they become minority and they don't have much to say to protect themselves. They wear the hijab because of freedom, but it also leaves them with a target on their back. They're a minority, they can't defend themselves. People tend to gang up on them and yeah.
Zubaydah, would you like to ask?
So instead of banning the hijab, and that means we should focus more on lessons and educating the youth about differences and how to embrace differences and how to accept other people's religions. Banning it would create the discrimination even more worse. What's it called? It destroys trust. The research from European human rights groups saw that hijab bans reduce trusting in government, increase feelings of alienation, and fuels resentment and division.
Hudhayfah, what do you have to say about this?
The hijab ban isn't permanent, it's just for primary school children, so you shouldn't feel like there's no integration, because as you grow up, there'll be integration within society. But at such a young age, you don't want a target on your back where you face Islamophobia and hate for wearing a hijab and being proud of your religion. And so that's why there should be a ban.
Maryam, as an independent journalist, what's your view?
I disagree with Hudhayfah. At a young age, that is the peak time for healthy development, which means instead of enforcing a ban on hijabs, we should be educating children so that when they grow older, they don't create a divided society. There's no Islamophobia in that when they're older. Instead, they're accepting it, and that community is way more diverse.
Ryan, would you like to add on?
Like I said at the start, Islamophobia has been increasing rapidly in the UK. The students tend to repeat what their parents have said. Who would they rather believe, their parents or the school?
Zubaydah, what's your view?
That argument is illogical. Education is very powerful. When you're educating the youth, you're talking about discrimination, right? If you educate the youth from a very young age, from primary schools, when it's the most important, when it's the most crucial, that would help them to understand that it doesn't matter whether a person is wearing the hijab or not. Their value in society is still the same as someone who doesn't wear the hijab. So you saying that a ban would make this better and a ban would stop discrimination, it doesn't make sense, because you're sending a message to these children saying that they shouldn't be wearing it at a young age, so why would you accept it?
What do you have to say for this, Ryan? Okay, while I give you some time to think, I'll go to Myra, who's an NHS worker.
I believe that the hijab should not be banned. Enforcing a ban on young primary school children while their brains are still developing can be detrimental to their mental health and can project the message that you shouldn't express your identity, because hijab is a form of identity, it's a form of expressing that you are a Muslim person. And by banning the hijab for youth, children, you're telling them from a young age that they can't be who they want to be. You're telling them that they can't express themselves.
That's a great point. Hudhayfah, what's your view? Or Maryam, what's your point of view on this?
A ban would just hide diversity. It reinforces stereotypes. And in the 21st century, we don't need stereotypes. 21st century, we have worked so hard to reduce stereotypes, to reduce discrimination, to reduce Islamophobia. A ban is not what we need in the 21st century.
Zubaydah, would you like to add on?
Also, they may argue that there's compulsion. Now, if there's compulsion, we can deal with that with safeguarding networks. Those are isolated cases. We can deal with that. But banning the hijab as a whole is something that is going to increase discrimination, is something that strips children away from their, right to practice what they want to and their feeling of belonging.
Maryam, would you like to add on?
I agree with Zubaydah. Every point she's made, I've agreed.
Okay. Hudhayfah, what's your view on this?
No matter what, there will always be discrimination and stereotypes. But by banning the hijab, then young people won't face that discrimination and stereotypes within school, which mainly stems from the children around them whose upbringing has led to them being racist and having Islamophobic hate towards Muslims.
Okay. Rayan, would you like to add on as well?
I'd like to add on to Hudhayfah. There's no guarantee that educating the children will guarantee protection for little girls.
Zubaydah.
Well, you can say that about anything. You can say that education around junk food or education about cigarettes won't be helpful, but yet we still should try as a government. You keep talking about discrimination. Discrimination can be tackled with the police force, with like I said, educating the youth.
Police force in primary schools.
No, police.
Please don't cut off
outside.
Zubaydah.
Thank you. Police force outside. Advertisement. There's so many things the government can do. You can't just say, oh, discrimination will still exist. It's our duty as a government to tackle that. We want to live in a just and fair society where everyone is accepted.
Thank you.
Rayan, would you like to counter argue?
No, I've had enough.
Maryam, what's your view?
Promoting a ban would go strictly against the Equality Act of 2010, which prohibits school dress codes that cause direct or indirect discrimination based on religion. A ban also violates equality and human right obligations, so I don't think we should have a ban at all.
The question's also about religious attire, not just about the job. So, what's your view on this, Myra?
I'd say it's the same regarding religious attire and the hijab. Both terms can be used interchangeably. It still applies. It shouldn't be a ban.
Rayan, what's your view?
My point still stands with all religious attire, such as the kippah or the turban. It leaves them as a target of discrimination.
Does anyone else have any more points they want to add? No? Okay, so we're going to ask questions to the audience. I want to remind you guys of the topics, which is junk food, knife crime, the social media ban, and religious attire in schools. Does anyone have any questions? Yes.
I've got a question for Zubaydah. Your argument was we should ban junk food. This involves the removal of thousands of factories across the United Kingdom, the removal of millions of jobs, the removal of billions, if not trillions, of money to the economy through taxes, value-added taxes, income taxes, and corporation taxes. So my question to you is, how can you sleep at night when because of you, there are millions of parents across the United Kingdom, they can't sleep at night because they have to think, can I pay my bills? How am I going to feed my children? All because of you and the removal of millions of jobs across the United Kingdom.
Zubaydah, what do you have to say to this?
I think that he got bigger issues to tackle. For example, the NHS. The NHS it spends £10 million a year. Actually, no, £11 million a year on obesity, which could be easily avoided if we just enforced a ban. That's regressive onto lower income families because they're going to have to pay higher taxes in the future. So regardless of whether they keep their jobs or not, they're still going to have to pay the taxes because of obesity.
Does that answer your question?
Oh, yeah.
Okay. Does anyone else have any more questions? I want to remind you guys of the topic again, which is junk food, knife crime, social media ban, and religious attire ban in primary schools. Yes.
Akbar versus Rayan. Your whole argument is that we should ban the hijab because of discrimination. Should we also ban homosexuality? Should we also go back to segregation? There's racism that comes to primary school, so should we go back to Jim Crow laws, all because of discrimination?
I think that's a stretch. I don't think we should be going back to Jim Crow laws. I think that's a bit of a stretch. Thank you.
Maryam, what do you think about what the audience has said?
I agree with what he said. I agree. It's very extremely with what he said. Would you want to go back to those laws? Segregation?
No.
Why
So
not?
it's just a ban.
Thank you.
Zubaydah, what do you think?
I don't understand his questions.
My question is that Ryan's whole argument that we should ban the hijab because of discrimination. But homosexuality brings discrimination. People of different skin colors brings discrimination. So how can you justify banning the hijab and not justify banning segregation and homosexuality?
Yeah, I agree with that actually. People can also argue that there's compulsion, there's a pressure to wear the hijab, etc., or pressure to wear the kippah, or pressure to wear the turban because of religious pressures, etc., or cultural pressures. You can say the same thing about teenage girls and social media and makeup and crop tops. Girls are pressured to sexualize themselves from a young age. They're pressured to wear makeup. At a young age in order to fit in. Does that mean we're gonna have to ban the whole of Western fashion?
Hudhayfah, what would you like to argue?
You can't really compare banning religious attire to something to do with race or gender and how someone identifies, because it's completely separate and different.
Maryam, what's your view?
So religion and race are completely separate issues. There's nothing to do. It doesn't express somebody's identity.
Yeah, they're two different things.
So you're telling me that you could be someone from West African descent and you could not be Muslim, and that's the same thing.
No one's saying you can't be Muslim if you're from
So
there.
you could say that you could be a West African child sitting in a fully white classroom, and somebody who wears the hijab is not allowed to wear it because it's discriminatory, or it's offensive.
It's not offensive. It's just people who be hating them for a different reason to hating someone because they're black.
Zubaydah, what's the...
So that's why we have to tackle this issue of discrimination through educating the youth, through teaching them that it's okay to be different, through teaching them that if someone wears a kippah, if someone wears a turban, if someone wears a hijab, it doesn't matter because we're all equal in society.
Hudhayfah, what would you like to say?
I'd like to refrain from speaking on this matter.
Ryan, what's your view on this?
Um,
On what Hudhayfah said?
he didn't say anything but Islamophobia and religious discrimination has increased over the past few years, whereas discrimination based on skin color, sexuality has decreased over the past few years. So Sky News.
Zubaydah, what's your view?
So that just creates a bigger concern for Islamophobia, and a ban would reinforce that, because a ban is sending a message. Like I said, a ban is sending a message out to the public that young girls wearing hijab isn't acceptable and their identity isn't acceptable.
Ryan, do you have anything else to say?
No, thank you.
What about Maryam? Okay, see, we have another question.
You said that close the youth centers and your schools to educate kids on that kind. When you don't, you did say close the youth centers.
I didn't say close the
Or one or two, but anyway, the whole kind of youth center is to focus on informal education for kids that school can't provide. So how do you guys think that will benefit kids in today's society?
I think that question was targeted at Hudhayfah and Ryan. So what's your view on this?
Nobody had said anything about closing youth centers. Youth centers already closed. So yeah, thank you.
Hudhayfah, what's your view? Actually, no, it's Zubaydah.
Youth centers were closed because of conservative austerity.
Yeah,
Guys closed the youth centers.
Yeah, but that's like,
In order
that's
to
not her
fund- in
question.
order to
Her
fund-
question was something about
No, but
us
I'm
closing them.
responding to you though.
But this is a question now.
But I'm debating. Okay.
During when the audience are asking questions, you guys can debate each other. Hudhayfah, what's your view on this?
You said it's for informal education. That's why youth centers exist. That's why parents exist too. They're meant to be educating their children besides from them being educated in school. That's the whole difference between someone with parents and someone without. Someone with parents will be informally educated by their parents. So there shouldn't be a need for loads of youth centers to be open. Maybe a few, but a limited amount for maybe like people who don't have parents who can educate them informally.
the majority of the parents in this country are illiterate and they didn't understand modern technology or society. So really and truly, they need someone else that they can go to. Teachers can't provide that because it's too strict, it's too rigid. Whereas gift plots can provide that because they're informal and the whole point is to support people instead of teach them. So how can parents do that when they can't even understand this country's language?
That's a great question. Ryan, what do you have to say for this?
Youth centers, the main ones, have stayed open in low income areas and also high crime areas. There's a youth center 0.5 miles away, or maximum 0.5 miles away from a secondary school in London.
Zubaydah, would you like to add on?
Back to David's point about parents, and Nabila said about parents being immigrants. You're speaking from a middle class point of view, because that's what conservatives favor, the middle class and big businesses. We're talking about families who don't have the time, who don't have the resources to put their children into better facilities, to put their children and aid their children into becoming better and into becoming more educated. They don't have that. So, and plus they're busy, they're juggling jobs. You can't expect, parents that are busy to have time for children. For example, my parents, linking back to social media, they didn't have time to set up parental controls. And so I was exposed to explicit content. So if a ban was to be put into place, then that would have protected me. So, yeah.
That's a valid point. Hudhayfah, I can see your hands up. What's your view?
One, that story, that's your fault for being too curious. And two, you said in the audience that people that mainly come from immigration backgrounds, they can educate themselves and then use that education to educate their kids. That's the whole point of the education system. People learn and then they teach.
Guys, calm down. Zubaydah, what's your view?
Okay, you're putting
I'll give you. Could you repeat your point? Hudhayfah?
Which one?
The one that you just
I said two different things. To her or to the audience?
to Zubaydah.
I said it's your fault for being too curious, because if a child is too curious, then obviously they're going to be going and searching for things they shouldn't.
First of all, it's not about being too curious. Children are exposed to things online because of pop-ups, because of adverts, because of the way the algorithm works.
Because they're too curious.
No, it's not because of the.
Can we let
Zubaydah finish, guys? Are designed. They're designed to push out things. So you can't be blaming the children. See, that just says it all about the conservative beliefs. Anyways, you've said that it should be the parents' responsibility. Like I said, parents are not in control of what goes on the apps, and there's only so much that parental controls can do. It's only limited.
What do you have to say?
If you don't want your kids exploring stuff like that, then take better care of them, spend time with them, and look after them properly.
Maryam, what's your view?
Again, you're focused on middle class. We're focusing on low income families. If those families, their parents are juggling 2 to 3 jobs a week, okay, they leave the house 9 o'clock in the morning, they come home at 7 o'clock in the night. What do you expect them to do? Watch their kids throughout those jobs? Watch their kids all throughout? That's not possible. I'm sorry.
Zubaydah, would you like to add on?
You're ignoring the realities that some families face. That's being ignorant.
What do you have to say, Hudhayfah?
I'm not ignoring the family situations. There's schools. They can stay in school. Schools have after school clubs. They can stay there till 4, 5, 6 and then go home, and their parents will probably be done with work by then and they can spend time with their families.
Ryan, would you like to add on?
There's also been openings of new youth centers in Tower Hamlets, a low income area, such as the one in St. Paul's. There's a girls only youth center been opened.
But that doesn't take away from the fact that 40%, more than 40% actually have been shut down.
Because they were unused. 20% of them were unused.
No, they were unused because there was lack of funding. Most youth centers are run by volunteers.
Some are paid. Most of them are paid. The ones that are volunteers, they volunteer.
Maryam. Oh, I can see there's another question. Good.
I mean, just ask a question about, is there a difference between the hijab and in primary schools where children do not have a choice and secondary schools where you do have a choice? Do the panel have a view on that?
Okay, Zubaydah.
Yeah, so like I said, if there's compulsion, then we can deal with those isolated cases. We can speak to the children themselves instead of banning it and creating a whole legislation based on assumption. We should talk to these children ourselves. We should ask them, are you okay with wearing the hijab? Do you feel comfortable wearing it? And asking the real questions to the children who are actually wearing it. We shouldn't be creating a whole legislation based on assuming that they're being forced to wear it.
That's a great point. I can see there's another question. What's the
Earlier you said that social media ruins mental health and fixes suicide instead. What about people that can't suicide, that can't bend the boys, like people with anxiety, people get bullied? How will they be able to socialize?
They can't also shoot up that.
So the Labour government is, very pro youth centre, very pro giving back to the community. And I feel like if we invest in creating safe spaces for the youth, then that could maybe encourage them into socializing more outside instead of sticking indoors.
I can see there's another question.
My question is towards whoever said social media should be banned. I think this is ineffective. If you look at the issue of pornography in adult sites, millions of sites have been taken down recently, but this is ineffective. Children are just using VPNs, just making new accounts and lying about their age. Shouldn't we use the funding to educate children, provide support, instead of taking these sites which are ineffective?
Zubaydah, what's your point?
You said kids will lie about their age, but that's why we're saying that the ban must be strict. The ban must include government-approved age verification, platform liability, and fines for those who don't comply.
This has been proven to be ineffective. What's stopping a child from using different IDs of their parents?
Okay, I'll give Zubaydah some time to think. Ryan, what's your view?
I'd like to add on to Adi's point. ID verification has seen to be ineffective, and also VPNs is another one. VPNs are accessible to everyone and anyone, and it helps them get around bans and move to other countries.
Hudhayfah, what's your view?
I'd like to add on to Adi and Rayan. There's a psychological term called the forbidden effect, which is that when things are banned from people, they're more likely to go and do it because the human mind believes that if it's banned, it'll be more exciting and enjoyable to do it. And so it provokes them to then go and do that.
We have one more question. So, what's your question? To Zubaydah. Could you also speak louder because can't hear you?
You mentioned the Australian ban, but has that proven to be elected? Because they ban social media like TikTok, but they lack Discord. And also, when has social media ever been proven to be effective? Because for social media like Roblox, it's restless to still talk to people, but the new chat system, users ask their deeds. So when they meet Rob business, the whole kid will see them at their age, who's in Asia.
I don't understand the question.
So, what I think the audience has said is that with bans like with Roblox, children are more vulnerable because they think they're talking to people their age when it could be people that are older. So what's your view on this? Well, I give Zubaydah some time to think. Ryan, what's your view?
I think Starshi's wrong. Let's start with Roblox. Roblox has included a chat where you can only speak to people your age. So there will be no talking to people above the age of wherever you are. Also, Australia is failing in preventing students from accessing social media. Millions of people access social media during the ban.
Okay. Zubaydah, would you like to add on?
No, actually, 4.7 million accounts, like I said, that were underage were deleted and removed, and regulators who controlled this call the results very significant.
Okay, that's great. Ryan, what's your view?
I'd like to say one thing. Accounts does not equal a person. People can have several accounts, so 4.7 million, is that a real statistic?
What do you have to say?
Yeah, from the government website, it is a real statistic.
But you didn't hear what I said. Accounts does not equal a person.
Yeah, I've got nothing to say.
Okay, I think we've got time for one more question. Does anyone have any questions? Please.
No, I've got a question. Fowzia. It seems like a common solution that's been floated for all of the kind of topics that we debated today relies heavily on education and on teachers and the teaching profession. And at a time when you've got kind of record numbers of teachers dropping out of the profession, okay? Is that fair? We think that's fair that we put that sort of extra demand and extra pressure on teachers, and are they getting rewarded enough?
Ryan, you're a teacher. What's your view?
What Mr. Rothon said was a valid point. It was great because us as teachers, we are underpaid and we're overworked. We do so much for so little. He said many of us are dropping out. Loads of my friends have moved away from the teaching profession and onto other professions as there is increasing pressure and jobs that we have to do. Our job is to educate, not to regulate.
Myra, you like to add on?
Oh no, I agree with Ryan's point.
Or Hudhayfah, would you like to add on?
It's not just the education system. It should be more focused on parents educating their children rather than the education system, because there are a lot of problems with the education system, whereas families can educate children on how they want them to be and teach them good morals and character values.
Does anyone have anything to add on? Zubaydah?
Yes, but like you said parents can teach their children good morals and values, but then you also said earlier on that parents can teach kids the wrong things and, teaching them how to be discriminative towards other children and, their beliefs. So that's why an education does play a big role, and safeguarding and having assemblies to educate, about equality and diversity.
Hudhayfah, what's your view?
Well, obviously, some parents will give their children a bad upbringing because that's how they are and that's how they grew up, and then they'll continue that with their children. But that fault lies more with humanity failing and society failing.
Okay, we're gonna have to end it there because of time. But thank you all for coming to the Samosa Media question time. Thank you. Oh, wait. No. But yeah, thank you. Sure.